Hello and welcome. Before we begin, I need to share something important with you. Everything we discuss today is general information only. It's not personal financial advice. Your situation is unique, so please speak with a qualified financial advisor before making any major decisions. Now, let's get started. What if I lose my job at 60? 5 words. 5 simple words, but they carry the weight of 1,000 sleepless nights, don't they? If you've ever laid awake at 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, running the numbers in your head, you're not alone. If you've ever felt that knot in your stomach when you hear about restructures or redundancies at work, I see you. And if you've ever wondered whether you've done enough, saved enough, prepared enough, I want you to know something right now. Your fear is valid. Your concern is real, and you're asking exactly the right questions. Losing your job at 60 isn't like losing your job at 30. At 30, you dust yourself off, you update the resume, you jump back into the market. There's time, there's energy, there's runway. But at 60, the landscape changes, the rules are different, and let's be honest, the fear cuts deeper. Because it's not just about money, is it? It's about dignity. It's about identity. It's about looking your partner in the eye and saying, we're going to be okay. It's about not becoming a burden to your children. It's about maintaining the life you've worked 40 years to build. So today, we're going to walk through this together, not with sugarcoating, not with false promises, but with truth, with practical strategies, and with a plan that gives you back something precious: control. Let me start by acknowledging something that doesn't get said enough. The system wasn't designed for this moment. The system assumed you'd work until 65, maybe 67, then retire with a handshake and a gold watch. But that's not the reality anymore, is it? Companies are leaner, technology is faster, and the uncomfortable truth is that many employers see older workers as expensive. They don't say it out loud, they can't legally, but we all know it happens. The restructure that somehow only affects the senior staff, the performance reviews that suddenly become more critical, the culture that shifts toward youth and disruption. And here's what makes it even harder. You're caught in what I call the gap. The gap between too young to access your superannuation and too old to be attractive in the job market. It's a financial no man's land. And if you're sitting in that gap right now, or worried you might be soon, then this conversation is for you. Now, let's talk about the Australian context, because this matters. Our experience is unique. Go back 30 years, back to the early 1990s. If you lost your job at 60 then, the situation was different. For one thing, 60 was closer to the normal retirement age. People weren't expected to work until 67 like they are now. There was less stigma, less financial pressure. But more importantly, the job market was different. Australia was coming out of the recession we had to have, yes, but once we recovered, there were jobs. Manufacturing was still strong. The mining boom was on the horizon. And here's the big one. Superannuation was still new. The system only became compulsory in 1992. That means if you lost your job at 60 in 1995, you probably didn't have much in super anyway. Nobody did. You relied on the age pension. You downsized the house. You made do. And that was normal. That was accepted. Fast forward to today, everything has changed. The age pension still exists, thank goodness, but the qualification age has crept up. It's now 67 for most people, and the asset tests have tightened. The family home is still exempt, yes, but everything else counts. Your super, your savings, your investments, even that caravan in the driveway. And here's the challenge. We're living longer, much longer. Someone who reaches 60 today has a good chance of living into their late 80s or 90s. That's nearly 30 years of life ahead. 30 years that need to be funded. So the stakes are higher, the timeline is longer, and the safety nets have more holes in them. But here's something else that's changed. Superannuation. For all its flaws, super has created something our parents didn't have, a pool of money that's yours, not the government's, not your employer's, yours. And if you've been working consistently since the 90s, you might have a decent balance sitting there. Maybe $200,000, maybe $400,000, maybe more. That's your first safety net, and we're going to talk about how to use it wisely. Now, let's get into the technical details, and I'm going to make this as simple as possible because the financial services industry loves to complicate things, but this doesn't need to be complicated. First, let's talk about accessing your superannuation. This is crucial because if you lose your job at 60, your super might be the difference between panic and breathing room. The preservation age, that's the age when you can access your super, depends on when you were born. If you were born before July 1960, your preservation age is 55. If you were born between July 1960 and June 1964, it's somewhere between 56 and 59. And if you were born after July 1964, it's 60. So here's the key question. Have you reached your preservation age? If yes, and you've lost your job or stopped working, you can access your super. Not as a lump sum necessarily, although that's possible, but as what's called a transition to retirement income stream. Or if you've genuinely retired, a full retirement income stream. This is a game changer because it means you're not entirely dependent on finding another job immediately. You have options. You have time. But here's where it gets tricky. Just because you can access your super doesn't mean you should drain it. This money needs to last potentially 30 years, remember, so we need to be strategic. Let's talk about the age pension, because this is your ultimate safety net. The age pension isn't generous, let's be clear about that, but it's reliable. It's indexed to inflation, and it's there for life. As of recent years, the full age pension for a single person sits around $28,000 per year. For a couple, it's around $42,000 combined. Again, not lavish, but enough to cover the basics if you own your home outright. The catch is qualifying for it. There are two tests, the income test and the assets test. Centrelink applies both and uses whichever gives you the lower payment. The assets test is usually the one that bites. If you're a single homeowner with assets over $650,000 or so, your pension starts reducing. If you're over about $1 million, you get nothing. For couples, those thresholds are higher, around $980,000 and about $1.5 million respectively. Now, remember, these thresholds do change slightly each year with indexation, so don't hold me to the exact dollar, but the principle remains. If you've got too much in assets, you won't qualify for a full pension, or possibly any pension at all. And here's something people forget. Your superannuation counts as an asset once you've reached age pension age. It doesn't matter that it's in a super fund. Centrelink counts it. So if you lose your job at 60 and you've got $500,000 in super, you need to be very careful about how you manage that money over the next 7 years until you can apply for the age pension at 67. Because if you spend it all, you'll qualify for a full pension but have nothing left. And if you don't spend any of it, it might disqualify you from the pension entirely. This is the balancing act, and it's why planning matters. Let's talk about income tests too, because this affects people who keep working part-time or who have investment income. If you're receiving the age pension or applying for it, Centrelink looks at your income. They allow you to earn a certain amount before your pension reduces. This is called the income-free area. For a single person, it's been around $200 per fortnight in recent times. For couples, around $360 combined per fortnight. Earn more than that, and your pension reduces by 50 cents for every dollar over the threshold. It tapers off. But here's the positive side. If you lose your job at 60 and you're not yet eligible for the age pension, there are other payments you might qualify for. JobSeeker, for instance. Yes, the payment formerly known as New Start or the Dole. It's not just for young people. JobSeeker for someone over 60 is around $650 per fortnight for a single person. It's less if you have a partner who's working. And yes, there are mutual obligations. You need to prove you're looking for work. But the requirements for people over 60 are generally less onerous than for younger recipients. Is it enough to live on? No, not comfortably. But it's something. It's a bridge. And if you own your home outright and you've got some savings to supplement it, it can get you through while you figure out your next move. Now, let's talk about something uncomfortable: redundancy payments. If you're made redundant at 60, you might receive a payout. The amount depends on your award, your enterprise agreement, or your individual contract. There's also a tax-free component based on years of service. The formulas vary, but you might receive several weeks or even several months of pay. Here's what you need to know. That redundancy payment is taxed concessionally up to a certain limit. The tax-free portion is generally a base amount plus an amount per year of service. Beyond that, it's taxed at normal rates, or you can ask for it to go into your super, where it's taxed at 15%. This is important because if you're 60 and you receive, say, $80,000 in redundancy, you need to decide what to do with it. Do you take it as cash? Do you salary sacrifice it into super? Do you use it to pay down debt? There's no one-size-fits-all answer, but here's my general guidance. If you have high-interest debt, pay it off first. Credit cards, personal loans, anything over 6 or 7% interest, get rid of it, because that debt is eating you alive. If you don't have debt, consider putting at least some of it into super. Why? Because once it's in super, it's taxed more favorably, and it's preserved for your retirement. It's protected from creditors in most cases, and you can access it as a pension when you need it. But keep some in cash, because you need liquidity. You need an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of living expenses sitting in a high-interest savings account, not earning much, but there when you need it. Let's also talk about health insurance, because this is a hidden cost that catches people. If you lose your job at 60, you might lose your income protection insurance. You might lose your life insurance if it was held through your employer. And here's the big one: private health insurance. If you've held private health insurance continuously since before you turned 31, you've avoided the lifetime health cover loading. That's the extra premium you pay for every year you delay joining after turning 31. But if you drop your cover now because you can't afford it, and then try to rejoin later, you might face higher premiums or waiting periods. So here's my advice. If you can possibly afford to keep your private health insurance, do it, even if you drop down to a basic hospital cover. Because once you let it lapse, it's hard to get back without penalties. And at 60, you're entering the years where you're more likely to need it. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough: the emotional side of losing your job at 60. Because here's the truth. Money is one thing, but identity is another. If you've worked for 40 years, your job isn't just a paycheck. It's who you are. It's your routine. It's your social circle. It's your purpose. And when that gets taken away, especially suddenly, it can feel like the ground has disappeared beneath your feet. I've seen strong, capable people fall into depression after losing a job at this age, not because they couldn't find another one eventually, but because they felt invisible, irrelevant, past their use-by date. And the job market reinforces that feeling. You apply for roles you're overqualified for. You don't even get an interview. Or you get to the interview and you can see it in their eyes. You're too old, too expensive, too set in your ways. It's brutal, and it's unfair, but it's real. So here's what I want you to remember. Your value as a human being is not determined by your employment status. Your worth is not measured by your productivity. You have decades of knowledge, experience, wisdom, and skill. And just because some 28-year-old hiring manager can't see it, doesn't mean it's not there. But I'm also a realist, so let's talk strategy, because feelings are important, but survival is more important. If you lose your job at 60, here's what you do. First, breathe. Take a week. Process it. Don't make any major decisions in the first week. You're in shock. Your judgment is clouded. Give yourself time. Second, assess your financial position. And I mean really assess it. Sit down with every statement, your super balance, your savings, your debts, your monthly expenses. Write it all down, because you can't make a plan if you don't know where you stand. Third, calculate your runway. How long can you survive on your current savings without any income? 3 months? 6 months? A year? This number determines how urgent your next move needs to be. If your runway is less than 3 months, you need immediate income. That might mean JobSeeker. It might mean accessing some of your super if you're at preservation age. It might mean taking any job you can get, even if it's beneath your skill level. Pride is a luxury you can't afford right now. If your runway is 6 months to a year, you have breathing room. Use it wisely. Don't panic. Don't take the first offer that comes along. Think strategically about your next move. Now, let's talk about Bruce and Jenny. They're not real people, but their situation is very real because I've seen versions of them 100 times. Bruce is 61. He worked in middle management for a manufacturing company for 32 years. Good salary, solid super balance of about $420,000. Jenny is 59. She's worked part-time in retail for 20 years. Her super is around $180,000. They own their home outright in suburban Melbourne. It's worth about $700,000. They have $25,000 in savings, no debt except a small car loan with $8,000 owing. Then Bruce gets made redundant. The company is offshoring his department. He receives a redundancy payment of $60,000 after tax. So where does that leave them? Let's do the maths. Bruce's super, $420,000. Jenny's super, $180,000. Total, $600,000 in super. Cash savings, $25,000. Redundancy, $60,000. Total liquid assets, $85,000. Debt, $8,000 on the car. First move, pay off the car loan. That leaves them with $77,000 in cash. Bruce is 61. His preservation age is 56 because he was born before 1964, so he can access his super. But should he? Here's the dilemma. If he starts drawing on his super now, that money has to last potentially until he's 90. That's 29 years. Can $420,000 last 29 years? Maybe, if he's very careful, if the market cooperates, if nothing goes wrong. But if he waits and tries to find work, he preserves that capital. It keeps growing, and it's there when he really needs it. So here's what Bruce and Jenny decide. They're going to live tight for the next year. Jenny keeps working her part-time job. That brings in about $28,000 a year. Their living expenses are about $55,000 a year, so they have a shortfall of $27,000. They can cover that shortfall from their cash savings for almost 3 years without touching super. That gives Bruce time. Time to look for work, time to explore options, time to adjust. But here's what else they do. They create a plan B. If Bruce doesn't find work within 12 months, he'll start a transition to retirement pension from his super. He'll draw the minimum, which is 4% of his balance at his age. That's $16,800 per year. Combined with Jenny's income, that's $44,800. Still short of their $55,000 in expenses, but much closer. They can make up the difference by cutting back, canceling subscriptions, eating out less, delaying that bathroom renovation. And here's the key. They're not panicking. They have a plan. They have options. They have time. 6 months later, Bruce finds work. It's not his old role. It's contract work, 3 days a week for a much smaller company. The pay is about 60% of what he used to earn, but it's something. It's income. It's purpose. And combined with Jenny's wages, they're actually ahead. They keep that transition to retirement pension running at minimum payments, because why not? The money is being drawn from super tax-free in pension phase. It's supplementing their income. And Bruce's super balance is still invested, still growing on the portion he's not drawing. When Jenny turns 60, she does the same thing with her super, starts a small pension. Now they're both drawing the minimum from their super while still working. It's called having your cake and eating it too. By the time Bruce is 67 and eligible for the age pension, their super balances have actually grown, not shrunk, because they've been so conservative with their drawdowns and the market has been kind. They've also both kept working, at least part-time, so their expenses have been covered. They apply for the age pension. Because of their super balances and the value of their investments, they don't qualify for a full pension, but they get a part pension, about a third of the full rate. Combined with their super pensions and their part-time work, they're comfortable. That's a good outcome, but let's look at the alternative scenario. Imagine Bruce panics. He takes his entire redundancy payment and blows it on a new car and a holiday because he's depressed and figures he deserves it. Then he starts drawing the maximum from his super, which is 10% at his age. That's $42,000 a year. Jenny keeps working, bringing in $28,000, so their household income is $70,000. Sounds okay, right? But here's the problem. Bruce's super balance starts shrinking fast. He's pulling out $42,000 a year. Even if the fund grows at 6%, he's still net negative. After 5 years, his super balance has dropped to around $280,000. After 10 years, it's nearly gone. Now Bruce is 71, his super is exhausted. Jenny's super is also depleted because they've been drawing on hers too. They apply for the age pension and they qualify for a full pension because they have almost no assets left except the house. But that full age pension is only about $42,000 a year combined. They go from a comfortable $70,000 a year to $42,000. That's a massive lifestyle drop. They struggle. They regret those early decisions. They wish they'd been more careful. Two scenarios, same starting point, vastly different outcomes. And the difference? Planning, patience, discipline. Now, let's talk about what you can actually do today, right now, practical steps. Step 1, know your numbers. I've said this already, but I'll say it again because it's that important. You cannot make good decisions without good information. So sit down this weekend and create a full financial snapshot. Every account, every asset, every debt, every monthly expense. Get it all down on paper. Step 2, understand your preservation age and your access to super. When can you access it? Have you reached that age already? If not, how far away are you? Because this determines your options. Step 3, check your insurance. Do you have income protection through your employer? Does it cover redundancy or only illness and injury? Do you have insurance inside your super? Life insurance? Total and permanent disability? Check the terms, check the premiums, make sure you understand what you're covered for. Step 4, build your emergency fund if you don't have one already. I know, you're 60. You should have done this decades ago. But if you haven't, start now. Even if it's just $5,000, even if it's just $2,000, something is better than nothing. Step 5, reduce your fixed expenses. Look at your monthly bills. What can you cut? That streaming service you never use, that gym membership you've had for 3 years but only visit twice a month, the premium cable package, the expensive phone plan. Every $100 you cut from your monthly expenses extends your runway by 3 months over the course of a year. Step 6, upskill. I know this sounds cliché, but hear me out. You don't need to go back to university, but a short online course in something relevant to your field can make you more employable. A certificate in project management, a course in digital literacy, something that shows employers you're current, you're adaptable, you're not stuck in the past. Step 7, network. And I don't mean LinkedIn cold messages. I mean real relationships. Reach out to former colleagues, join industry groups, attend local business events. Because here's the truth about finding work at 60. It almost never comes from job ads. It comes from people who know you and trust you. Step 8. Consider self-employment. Now, I'm not saying become a consultant overnight if you've never done it before, but think about what you know, what you're good at, what problems you can solve. Maybe it's bookkeeping for small businesses. Maybe it's mentoring young professionals in your field. Maybe it's handyman work if you're practical. The point is, you don't have to rely on someone else to give you a job. You can create your own income. Step 9. Talk to Centrelink. I know, nobody wants to. The wait times are awful, the system is confusing. But if you've lost your job, you need to understand what you're entitled to. JobSeeker, rent assistance if you're renting, concession cards. There are supports available. You've paid taxes your whole life. Don't be too proud to access them when you need them. Step 10. Get advice. Professional advice from a licensed financial planner. Yes, it costs money, but a good advisor can save you thousands, tens of thousands in bad decisions. They can help you structure your super, plan your drawdowns, maximize your age pension entitlements, manage your tax. It's worth it. Now let me talk about something philosophical for a moment, because I think this matters. We live in a culture that worships work, that defines people by their productivity, by their job title, by their salary. And that culture is toxic, especially for people in the later stages of their career. Because here's the truth. You are not your job. You are not your paycheck. You are a human being with intrinsic worth. You have relationships. You have knowledge. You have experiences. You have value that has nothing to do with whether you're employed. And here's something else. This stage of your life, your 60s, 70s, 80s, this is not the waiting room for death. This is not the winding down. This is the third act. And if you handle it right, it can be the best act. Think about it. If you're 60 and you live to 85, that's 25 years. That's longer than most people spend in school and university combined. That's longer than many careers. That's a quarter of a century. What are you going to do with it? Because if you spend the next 25 years worrying about money, pinching pennies, afraid to live, then what's the point? Yes, you need to be responsible. Yes, you need to plan. But you also need to live. And here's the beautiful thing about financial planning done right. It gives you permission to live. Because when you know your numbers, when you have a plan, when you understand your runway, you can relax. You can say yes to that holiday. You can help your grandkids with their education. You can pursue that hobby you've always wanted to try. Financial security isn't about having millions of dollars. It's about having enough. Enough to meet your needs, enough to cover the unexpected, enough to give you choices. And for most Australians, if you own your home and you have a modest super balance and you're willing to live within your means, enough is achievable. It really is. So if you lose your job at 60, yes, it's a setback. Yes, it's stressful. Yes, it requires adjustment. But it's not the end. It's not a catastrophe. It's a transition. And transitions, while uncomfortable, also bring opportunities. Maybe you discover you don't actually want to work full-time anymore. Maybe you find a job you like better than the one you lost. Maybe you use the time to reconnect with your partner, your friends, yourself. Maybe you start that business you've been dreaming about for 20 years. I've seen it happen. I've seen people lose their job at 60 and initially feel devastated, and then 2 years later tell me it was the best thing that ever happened to them because it forced them to reevaluate, to slow down, to live differently. I'm not saying losing your job at 60 is a blessing in disguise. That would be patronizing. But I am saying it doesn't have to be a tragedy either. Here's what it comes down to. Control what you can control. You can't control the job market. You can't control your employer's decisions. You can't control the economy. But you can control your spending. You can control your saving. You can control your attitude. You can control your response. And that's more powerful than you think. Let me close with this. If you're listening to this and you haven't lost your job yet, but you're worried you might, here's my message. Prepare now. Don't wait for the axe to fall. Get your financial house in order today. Build that emergency fund. Reduce that debt. Understand your super. Make a plan. Because the best time to fix your roof is when the sun is shining, not when it's already raining. And if you're listening to this and you've already lost your job, if you're in the thick of it right now, here's my message. You're going to be okay. It doesn't feel like it right now, but you are. You've survived every difficult thing life has thrown at you so far, and you'll survive this too. Take it one day at a time, one decision at a time. Don't try to solve everything at once. Just take the next right step, and then the next one, and then the next one. And remember, you're not alone. Thousands of Australians are facing the same challenge, asking the same questions, feeling the same fears. There's no shame in it. There's no failure in it. It's just life. And life is messy and unpredictable and sometimes unfair. But it's also beautiful and precious and full of possibility, even at 60, especially at 60. So take a deep breath, make a plan, reach out for help when you need it, and then step forward into whatever comes next with courage and grace. Because you've got this, and your third act is waiting. Before we finish, let me remind you one more time. Everything we've discussed today is general information only. It's not personal financial advice tailored to your specific circumstances. Your situation is unique. Your needs are unique. So please speak with a licensed financial advisor who can give you advice that's right for you. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourself. And remember, your best days aren't behind you. They're still ahead. All the best.